There are people spending 10,000 rupees on AI certifications right now. And I'm not exaggerating when I say the hiring managers looking at their resume has never once filtered for that certificate, has ever searched for it, does not care. And the frustrating part is nobody's telling them this before they pay. They find out later. I'm a software engineer and I watched what companies actually filtered for in 2026 up close from inside the room. And I have to be honest with you because I do not think most of the content out there on this topic is. So, I ranked every major AI certification and I'm going to tell you exactly which ones are worth your time, which ones are worth your money in specific situations only, and which ones you should skip entirely, including naming names on the ones I think are waste. So let us get into it. Quick context on why I am even qualified to say any of this. A few weeks ago, I put a video about the AI projects for your resume. It got pretty good reach, which honestly surprised me. And the most common question I kept getting in the comments and in my DMs was, what about certifications? Do I need them? Or which courses should I take? Which ones actually matter? And I kept wanting to answer, but I did not want to give a half baked take, so I sat on it. Then there was my placements video where I talked about how silent lead code grinding is actually hurting people's interview performance. That one got a reaction too. And in that video, I mentioned briefly that in 2026, the things companies were filtering for at the JD level had shifted. Certifications were part of that conversation and I kind of glossed over it. So this video is the full answer. Here's the thing. I actually took two of the certifications I am going to talk about today, not for content. I took them because I was building a product and I needed to understand the material. So when I talk about those two specifically, that is first person. For the rest, I'm going to tell you what I saw in placement JDs, what I researched, and what I generally think. Okay, so before I show you the tier list, I want to say something that most videos on this topic completely skip. The answer to which AI certification should I get is not a universal answer. It depends on one question that you have to answer first. What kind of companies are you actually targeting? Because here is what I noticed. Enterprise companies, large MNCs, service companies like TCS, Infosys, Wipro, Accenture level, they actively list certifications in their job descriptions. I'm talking about Azure AI Engineer Associate appearing in job postings, AWS AI Practitioner, Google Cloud GenAI Engineer. These appear by name. They're filtering for them. A certification from right cloud platform is a genuine signal to those companies. Now look at AI startups, smaller product companies, early stage or even series A or B companies building real AI products. I went through probably 40 to 50 JDs and the AI native companies almost never listed a single certification. Then what did they list? GitHub, deployed projects, APIs you have worked with, demos, evidence that you can actually ship something. This is the bifurcation nobody tells you about and it completely changes the answer. So before you spend any money on any certification, before you spend any time on any certification, ask yourself, product company or service company, startup or MNC. Because if you are targeting a startup and you go spend 12,000 rupees on Azure certificate, I'm sorry, but you probably made the wrong call. And if you are targeting TCS Digital or Infosys AI unit and your resume only has a GitHub link with no cloud certification, you are leaving the points on the table. The third category is the people who are building their own thing. If you are trying to build a SaaS product or an indie app or something you want to ship, that is a different answer again. I'll come back to all three at the end with a specific recommendation for each, but keep this framing in your head as we go through the tier list. Alright, 4 tiers. S tier is free and high return of investment. Do these regardless of what company you are targeting. A tier is worth paying for, but only in specific situations. B tier is decent but overhyped, and there is actually a free version that is just as good. And skip tier is where I'm going to be honest and slightly uncomfortable. Let us start. DeepLearning.AI Generative AI with LLMs. This is the one I actually took, and I want to be honest about why I took it. I was not taking it to put it on my resume. I was in the middle of building a product and I realized I did not fully understand what was happening under the hood. Like I understand the API layer, I could hit an endpoint, but I did not understand fine tuning. I did not understand RLHF. I did not understand why certain prompting strategies worked and others did not. The course fixed that for me. It teaches LLM internals at the level that actually matters, not surface level. You come out understanding how these models are trained, how fine tuning works, what reinforcement learning for human feedback actually is. And that understanding shows up when you are building things or when you are talking to an interviewer about an AI project. 3 weeks at a student pace, free if you audit, and that is an insane return of investment. So S tier, no debate. Second one is LangChain Academy Fundamentals course, also free. This one I use directly when building one of my own products. Here's the thing with LangChain. A lot of people have heard of it. Very few people actually build a real chain or a multi-step agent with it. And there's a gap between I read the docs and I built something with it. The course closes that gap. It teaches LangChain and LangGraph in a hands-on way, not theory. You are building things. And I found it genuinely useful because when I was working on my SaaS product, I kept running into architecture decisions, and this course had covered the patterns I needed. Free, practical, gets you to the point where you can actually ship with LLMs and not just experiment with them. So, S tier. Google Generative AI Learning Path on Cloud Skills Boost. Free. Surface level but fast. You finish this in a weekend if you push through it. Honestly speaking, it is not going to teach you anything deep, but it gives you a Google badge for LinkedIn. And if you are targeting Google adjacent roles or Google Cloud roles, that badge is a signal. It says you have touched the platform. It is not impressive on its own, but it costs you nothing and takes very little time. S tier for the effort to reward ratio. Just do not expect this to teach you anything that the DeepLearning.AI course already covers better. Hugging Face course, free, open source focused. If you want to work with open source models, if you want to fine tune something, if you want to understand how to actually run models without always going through a paid API, this is the course. It is excellent. The community around Hugging Face is also very active, so the material stays current. S tier if open source is part of your direction. A strong A tier for everyone else. I'm putting it at S because the space is moving toward more open source and understanding this ecosystem is going to matter more, not less. AWS Certified AI Practitioner. It was launched in 2024 and it cost you around 100 USD. Here's my honest take. This certification is worth it in one specific situation. You are targeting enterprise companies that run on AWS infrastructure, or your own SaaS is hosted on AWS and you are genuinely using their AI services. In that context, this certification signals that you understand the AWS ecosystem at the practical level. It is not a build from scratch certificate, it is focused on using AWS AI services. Bedrock, SageMaker, the managed stuff. So if that is the infrastructure you are working in, it makes sense. Not worth it for a fresher targeting product startups. They do not care. So A tier. Azure AI Engineer Associate. It costs you around 165 USD. This one actually appears by name in job descriptions at TCS, Infosys, Wipro, Accenture. If you are targeting service companies in India and you are not embarrassed about it because those companies are fine and they pay well, the certification is actually a filter. Having it moves you forward in certain hiring pipelines, and not having it means you might not clear the JD screen. Heavy on Azure Cognitive Services and Enterprise AI development patterns, not something you do to learn, you do it to signal a specific type of employer. A tier is specifically for service company targets. Google Professional ML Engineer, the most rigorous and respected cloud ML certificate out there. And I am putting it at B tier. Not because it is bad, but because most people who are looking at it right now should not be taking it yet. This is not a beginner certification. If you do not have at least 6 months of actual ML project experience, you will struggle with this. And getting it without that background means you probably memorized your way through it rather than actually knowing the material. And obviously, interviewers can tell that. If you have the experience, honestly, this one carries real weight. It is respected, but earn the right to take it. B tier for most people watching this right now. IBM AI Engineering Professional Certificate. It cost money via Coursera subscription. I'm going to be direct. The learning is decent. It covers ML, deep learning, and deployment. But the IBM name carries less weight in hiring pipelines than Google or AWS. Recruiters see it and they do not have the same reaction. If you are going to pay for a Coursera subscription to learn this material, find a way to get the same content free first. DeepLearning.AI covers much of this and it is free on audit. B tier, decent for learning, weak for signaling. Okay, skip tier is empty. I want to be direct here. Generic Udemy AI certificates. Nobody hiring at a real company is filtering for these. I'm not saying Udemy is useless for learning. Some of these courses are genuinely good for understanding of a concept. But what about the certificate at the end? It does not signal anything to anyone. It takes up the resume space that a project could occupy. Skip the certificate. Take the course if the content is good. Do not list the badge. Then skip tier also contains random badges from unknown platforms. If I cannot look up the platform and immediately know what it is not helping your resume. And if it is taking up space, it might actually hurt you by making your resume look padded. So skip. The last thing that is most important to skip is any certification you are taking just to have a certification. If the learning is not the goal, if you are doing it purely for the credential, it is always a waste of time and money. Always. Because you come out with a badge and no actual understanding. And the second an interviewer asks you a real question about the material, you get stuck. The certifications that work are the ones where you do the course and come out genuinely understanding something you did not understand before. That understanding is what shows up in the projects and your answers. The badge is the side effect. Look, here's the uncomfortable part of this conversation. For most students in India targeting product companies, a well documented GitHub project with a working demo is going to do more than any certification on the list. I say this from the direct observation. In my placements, the AI native companies and the product startups that I interviewed with looked at my GitHub before they looked at anything else on my resume. And the good ones who called me for an interview were responding to something I had shipped, not a badge I had earned. I'm not saying this to discourage you from certifications. I'm saying this so you can have the right priority order. But here's the nuance, and I think this is what most videos miss. Certifications and projects are not either or. The best outcome is when the certification teaches you something that makes your next project genuinely better. That is exactly what happened when I took the DeepLearning.AI course. I understood the fine tuning, and that understanding directly changed how I built the next thing I shipped. The certification was the input, the project was the output, and the project is what got noticed. Same thing with LangChain Academy. I did not take that to list it on my resume. I took it because I was building something with LangChain and I wanted to build it properly. The learning paid off in the code I wrote, and that code is what lives on GitHub. AI and ML roles are commanding a salary premium. But also, and this is the important part, in 2026, employers increasingly care more about what you can build than what credentials you hold. Both things are true at the same time. The credentials matter for the initial filter in the certain context, but after that filter, what you have actually built is what closes the deal. Okay, practical close. Three scenarios. One clear recommendation per scenario. If you are targeting product companies or AI startups, do the DeepLearning.AI Generative AI with LLMs course on the audit, free. Do the LangChain Academy fundamentals if you want to build agents or multi-step pipelines. Then build something with what you learned and put it on GitHub with a proper README and a working demo. That combination will do more for you than any paid certification. If you are targeting service companies, TCS, Infosys, Wipro, Accenture, or MNCs with enterprise AI infrastructure, look at Azure AI Engineer Associate. If you are on that track, or AWS AI Practitioner, if the company stack is AWS. Yes, they cost money, but they appear in the JDs by name and they are filters. Also look at MPTL if you are targeting Indian companies specifically. The certificate carries more name recognition than people realize. And if you are building your own product, take the DeepLearning.AI course to understand the internals. Take LangChain Academy to understand how to build with LLMs properly, then build. The only certification that matters for you is the thing you ship and put in front of users. That is genuinely it. No certification is going to substitute for something you have actually built and deployed. But the right certification taken for the right reasons make you a better builder. And that is the framing I think is missing from most of the conversation. If this was useful, there's a lot more where this come from. I talk about AI engineering, building real products, and the honest reality of the tech job market in India right now. And if you want me to go deeper on any specific certification or do a full breakdown of which AI products actually move the needle after getting your certificate, let me know in the comments. I read all of them. See you in the next one. Till then, keep building. I am watching you.